Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about the endocrine system and chemical coordination, short answer questions. Okay, so it is in the second year. Okay, so in the last class, we have discussed about the locomotion topic in respect to the first year. In today's class, the short answer question in endocrine system and chemical coordination in the second year. Okay. So the first question will be, list out the names of the endocrine glands present in human beings and mention the hormones they secrete. Okay, so we have to analyze the question, what the question demands. Okay, what is the name of the endocrine glands? Okay, so we have to write down the name of the endocrine glands and present in the human beings, and you should know, and you also have to write the mention the hormones they secrete. Okay, the first hormone, the first gland will be the hypothalamus. Okay, so this hypothalamus is the gland. They are going to produce a hormone, secrete a hormone called the growth hormone releasing hormone, that is GHRH. Don't confuse it with the GnRH, that is GN, gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Okay, GnRH, and this hormone is secreted by the hypothalamus, will be the growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay, so the pituitary is a gland. They are going to secrete the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. Okay, so this anterior pituitary, they are going to secrete a hormone called as a growth hormone, prolactin, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone. Okay, so the pars intermediate structure of the pituitary, they are going to secrete a melanocyte secreting hormone. This is the one responsible for stimulation of the synthesis of the hormone called as the melatonin. Sorry, melanin pigments. Okay, so excuse me. So the posterior pituitary, this is the gland is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the vasopressin and oxytocin. Right. So the next gland will be the pineal gland. Okay. So this gland is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the melatonin. Okay. So this hormone is responsible for sleep-wake cycle, maintaining the sleep-wake cycle, maintaining the circadian rhythm in the human beings. Okay. So thyroid gland, this gland is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the thyroxine, calcitonin. Okay, so parathyroid gland, this gland is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the parrot hormone. You should know that this parrot hormone and calcitonin, they are antagonistic to each other. One is reducing the higher calcium level in the blood, and one is taking the calcium from the bone. Okay, so this is the which means one is increasing the calcium level in the blood, one is decreasing the calcium level in the blood. So that is why we are calling this parrot hormone and the calcitonin antagonistic to each other, right? Now, the next gland is called as the thymus gland. So this thymus gland is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the thymosin. Okay, so this is very important gland. Why? Because this gland, they are which means they lost their function once the human attains the puberty stage. Okay, so this is very important. The thyroid gland, the thymus gland, is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the thymosin. Adrenal gland, so this adrenal gland, we are having a outer gland and our inner gland, which means outer layer and the inner region. So this outer region of the adrenal region is called as a cortex, and the inner region of the adrenal gland is called as a medulla. Okay, so this adrenal cortex region, they are also synthesizing the hormone which is called as a glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Alright, now the adrenal medulla, they are responsible for secreting the hormone called as the adrenaline and the noradrenaline region, noradrenaline hormone, flight and fright hormone. We can also call them as the emergency hormones. Okay, So pancreas, so in the pancreas we are having alpha cells, beta cells and the gamma cells. Okay, so this beta cells we are calling them as the this islets of Langerhans of this pancreas region. They are secreting the insulin cells by the beta cells and glucagon by the alpha cells. Okay, so testis is responsible for secreting the hormone called as the androgens in case of male. Okay, male sex hormone. And ovaries is the gland which is responsible for secreting the hormone called as an estrogen and the progesterone. Okay, so these are all the important endocrine glands and the hormones secreted by those glands. But before that, you should know the basic idea about this endocrine glands. So these endocrine glands are ductless glands. Okay, see blood. So blood is flow through the blood vessels and capillaries. They are reaching out the organs. Okay, through these vessels and capillaries. So this ductless gland. So the hormones is also moved to the target area through the duct. Okay. So through the duct. So that is what an exocrine glands. So if the duct is present, the hormones flows through the duct. That duct with these glands, we are calling them as a duct glands. If the ducts are absent, we are calling them as a ductless glands. So this endocrine gland is ductless and the exocrine glands is ductless. So the next question will be given account of the secretion of the pituitary gland. Okay. So you should know that in pituitary gland we are having anterior region and the posterior region. There is anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. So this anterior pituitary is also called as the adenohypophysis and the posterior pituitary is also called as the neurohypophysis. See this anterior pituitary, it is also called as the adenohypophysis. So in the anterior pituitary, they are responsible for synthesizing many hormones. They are growth hormone. Okay, growth hormone. So just remember this growth hormone is also called as the somatotropin. Okay, so thyroid stimulating hormone TSH, adrenocorticotropic hormone ACTH, follicle stimulating hormone FSH, and luteinizing hormone LH, prolactin P or L, melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH. These are all the hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary, which is also called as the adenohypophysis. Okay, so now what is the function of this growth hormone, which is also called as the somatotropin? See, they are responsible for growth. As the name suggests, they are responsible for growth. Okay, growth of bones, muscles, and other tissues via insulin-like growth factors. So this is very, very, very important. Growth factors, they are increasing the protein synthesis. As a result, each cell results in their growth in their size. Now, thyroid stimulating hormone, they are stimulating the thyroid hormone production. Okay, so thyroid stimulating hormone, they are stimulating the thyroid hormone production from the thyroid gland. See, from the thyroid gland, ultimately thyroid gland is responsible for synthesizing the thyroid hormone. Okay, now thyroid gland needs a stimulus to produce a thyroid hormone, and that is what thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, now adrenocorticotropic hormone. So this hormone stimulates the glucocorticoid secretion by the adrenal cortex. So we have studied in the adrenal gland there is an adrenal cortex and an adrenal medulla. So this adrenal cortex is responsible for synthesizing the glucocorticoids. Okay. So if the adrenal cortex wants to produce these glucocorticoids, it needs a stimulus. Okay. So that is what an adrenocorticotropic hormone. Now follicle stimulating hormone. So in the follicle stimulating hormone, so in the females they are responsible for ovarian follicle development. In the male, this follicle stimulating hormone is responsible for spermatogenesis. This is very, very important. See, follicle stimulating hormone is present in both male and female, but in different function. Okay. So in females, this FSH is responsible for developing an ovarian follicle. In the male, is responsible for the spermatogenesis, that is sperm synthesis, spermatid synthesis process. Now the luteinizing hormone, so in the females, that is in the female, this luteinizing hormone, they are responsible for ovulation process and the synthesis of progesterone. Okay, so in the males, they are responsible for secretion. Which is secretion? Testosterone secretion. See, Leydig cells is the one responsible for secreting the testosterone, but the stimulus is from luteinizing hormone. This is what a difference. Okay, now prolactin. Excuse me. Prolactin, so this initiates and maintains the milk secretion. Okay, so this prolactin don't confuse it with the oxytocin. Oxytocin is also maintains the milk secretion, but the primary secretion, the primary function of this oxytocin will be the primary function of this oxytocin will be the uterus contraction. Okay, so this prolactin is the one initiating and maintaining the milk secretion. Now, melanocyte stimulating hormone, this is one responsible for giving a color of the skin, increasing the skin pigmentation, melanin dispersion in melanocytes. So, this is very, very important. Now comes the posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary is also called as neurohypophysis. Okay, so this posterior pituitary, which is also called as a neurohypophysis, they are not synthesizing any hormones. Okay, so we have studied anterior and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary synthesizing the hormone and releasing the hormone. Posterior pituitary, they are not synthesizing the hormone, but it is storing and releasing the hormone. Now, who is secreting this oxytocin and vasopressin? So, oxytocin and vasopressin are synthesized by the hypothalamus. From the hypothalamus, it is reaching the posterior pituitary. There it is storing, and the posterior pituitary is releasing these hormones whenever necessary. Okay. Now, oxytocin, they are stimulates the uterine contraction during labor and milk ejection after delivery. Okay, after delivery, the milk ejection is also stimulated by oxytocin, and the uterine contraction during the labor period is also stimulated by the hormone called the oxytocin. Now, this vasopressin is also called as the antidiuretic hormone. So, this antidiuretic, what is meant by antidiuretic? Diuresis means, see, in the kidney, we are drinking water and the waste materials. Water is very, very necessary, not only for the metabolism process, but also to eliminate the waste, water is necessary. Okay, so what are all the waste products present in our body that has been taken by the kidney and it has to be sent out from the body? Okay, so in the means of water, through the means of water, all the waste materials is getting excreted from the body. Okay. Now, what the kidney have to check is, see, the water is necessary only to eliminate the water, so that the water which is sufficient to eliminate the waste is sufficient to go out. Remaining all the water has to be reabsorbed. Okay, so that is what antidiuresis process. Diuresis means removing most of the water from the body. Antidiuresis in the sense reabsorb the enough water. Okay, so the vasopressin antidiuretic hormone, they are promoting the water reabsorption in kidneys. They are constricts the arterioles and increasing the blood pressure. All these were the function of this vasopressin hormone, that is antidiuretic hormone. So just see here, the neurohypophysis the neurohypophysis stores and releases the hormones synthesized by the hypothalamus. Okay, they are the ones storing and releasing the hormones synthesized by the hypothalamus, as I said before. Now the third question will be, explain how hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism can affect the body. Okay, now see, hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism means thyroid is secreting higher. Thyroid hormone is higher. That is called as an overactive thyroid. Which means, what are other causes? What causes this hyperthyroidism? Thyroid nodules, overactivity, thyroid cancer. So these are all very, very, very important. As a result of this hypothyroidism, what are all the effects faced by a person? Exothalamic goiter. Okay, exothalamic goiter, protruding eyeballs. The eyeballs will be protrude outside. So that is what an exothalamic goiter. Now increased metabolic rate. As this is a personality hormone, thyroid hormone is personality hormone. This is the one responsible for all the metabolism process. If the thyroid secretion is higher, obviously the metabolism is also higher. Okay. So as a result, it results in the weight loss, heat tolerance, a rapid heartbeat. So these are all the symptoms faced by the hypothyroidism patients. Okay. So also it affects the nervousness, irritability and tremors. So these are all the effects of hyperthyroidism. Now hypothyroidism, so this is an underactive thyroid. If the thyroid is not produced normally, okay, below the normal level, we are calling that particular condition as a hypothyroidism. Now what causes this hypothyroidism? So this this iodine deficiency is responsible for causing the hypothyroidism, congenital deficiency. Okay, so what are all the effects of this hypothyroidism? Simple goiter. Okay, so in hyperthyroidism it is exothalamic goiter. In the hypothyroidism it will be simple goiter. Okay, so the simple goiter is only due to the iodine deficiency. Cretinism, so this is congenital. Why? Because stunted physical and mental growth. It is affecting the brain. Low IQ, the intelligence power is low. And abnormal skin, deafness, mutism, all will be the symptoms of the cretinism. And myxedema, so the cretinism in children, myxedema in adults. Okay, so the myxedema, they are causing the lethargy, mental impairment, cold intolerance, puffiness of the face, dry skin. All these were the symptoms of, of this myxedema in the hypothyroidism. So in adult women, it causes the irregular menstrual cycles. So these are all the symptoms of this hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. So the next question will be, write a note on Addison's disease and Cushing's syndrome. Okay. So the Addison disease, it is called as the, how this disease has arisen. Hyposecretion of the glucocorticoids. If the glucocorticoids secreted by the adrenal cortex, if it is lower, it results in the Addison's disease. Okay, so what causes this Addison's disease? Low glucocorticoid secretion by the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex is not secreting the glucocorticoids properly or normally. So excuse me, I'm very sorry for this. Symptoms. The symptoms of this Addison disease are weight loss, muscle weakness, fatigue, low blood pressure, darkening of the skin. Darkening of the skin means hyperpigmentation. The melanin pigment is higher. Poor stress response. All these were the symptoms of this Addison disease. Just remember, this Addison's disease is caused by the hyposecretion of this glucocorticoids by the adrenal cortex, right? Now, Cushing's syndrome, this causes the hypersecretion of the glucocorticoids. If the adrenal cortex secreting the glucocorticoids higher than the normal, above the normal level, it results in the Cushing's syndrome. Okay, overproduction of the glucocorticoids by the adrenal cortex. Okay, so the symptoms are muscle protein breakdown, thin arms and legs, which means what? Muscle protein, which is called as a muscle protein, actin and myosin. Okay, so their muscle protein breakdown, these results in the thin arms and legs. Okay, the bones can be easily break down. So fat redistribution, moon face, buffalo hump, pendulous abdomen. The abdomen will look like a pendulous, and the buffalo, the hump of the buffalo and the moon face. So they are because of the fat redistribution, the entire body structure will be abnormal. Poor wound healing, hyperglycemia, rapid weight gain. So these are all the symptoms of the Cushing syndrome. Okay, so that's all about this chapter's short answer question. We'll meet you in the next class short answer question. Okay, and once again, sorry for the interruption. Right, thank you so much.